Okay, this is a review for the Hiby R6 PRO. I've had this in my possession for several weeks. I've really been listening to it a lot in the past 10 days, comparing it with Sony WM1Z Low 2PAW Gold Touch N8 in particular. They're not in the same price range, but they're special in their own ways. The Sony's very musical, the WM1Z. The Low 2PAW Gold Touch is very, very neutral, and it has exacting digital sound processing ability. And the N8 has a kind of a hybrid. It's got the tubes, which make it sound like the 1Z in its vinyl mode, and it's also got regular output without the tubes. It sounds kind of smooth, but pretty neutral. I would say that this is most like the Low 2PAW Gold Touch in its presentation, and that it's fairly neutral. I'm looking at right there the website, and it says, adhering to the motto, make music more musical, R6 Pro leverages 4 low-pass filter chips, Muse, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, I don't think so. This is actually quite neutral. It's not warm like the 1Z at all, or the N8 with its tube mode. That has nothing to do with price. That's just the way that this thing sounds. So it does have those chips, but it doesn't sound warm because I have DAPs that are warm, and that's not one. The Opus #1 with its metal frame, which had different op amps, was a warm device. The Calyx M, warm device. Sony WM1Z, warm device. Neutral. This is a neutral device. This is something in the File X7 Gen 2 with a certain filter setting. Sony WM1A, Low 2PAW Gold Touch. This is something that falls along those lines more. Allow me to take a second to point out that this is the first review on the net, and I don't usually care about that stuff, but because of previous interactions with other websites that do reviews, I'd like to take a second to say, hey Headphonia, hey Headphonics, why don't you eat my dick? Moving right along. The button layout is pretty much the same as the original. You can obviously see this bump right here. Instead of that lip looking like this, it's got kind of a raised part of the chassis where the 4.4 is going in. I'll leave it to those other dudes to get into the specifics with you, because they're getting free units from Hiby, so they're water boys. It's their job to schlep and shill and give this a 4.5, not a 5, because while it's exceptional, it's not quite on the level of these $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 DAPs. I'll predict right now that that's what they're going to do, because that's their model. Having those devices that are very much well played. Nobody's talking about the Low 2PAW Gold Touch's bleed on its screen. It's ridiculous for something at its price range. Nobody's talking about the plastic stuff all over the can. And also the screen is crap. It's already getting little micro scratches on it. So these people that do reviews of these high-end things don't really do much besides advertise. And I'm a hype man. I take stuff, and if I love it, I hype the shit out of it, and if I don't like it, I bash it. I'll bash this company at the end of this video just to prove my point. But would I recommend this device? At $800, I think that you can't get anything with a screen as big as this. This is 38% brightness right now. It looks fantastic. That's 38%, man. Let me see. $38. Here we go. Because it is such a good screen, I want to be clear with that. This is not something that's been toyed with her. It came like that, and that's what it said on. The screen is not as important as some people, but for me, this is the user interface, and the fucking user, you or me, this is how we interface with the device. So is it nice to have a screen of this quality? Fucking damn right it is. And when I look at something, everything that's not an Astel & Kern, the SC100 and those, the Astel & Kern has good screens, but besides them and their crazy prices, this is the only DAP below those that has a decent screen. The Sony's got kind of a matte thing on it, which is fine. I don't like the really tiny album art on the can. but they're being smart about how they use the pixels on that thing because it's not a great screen. And the low 2 power gold touch is craptastically crap. And this thing's $800, and it's 3 gigabytes, and it's got the musical chips, which I don't hear because I don't hear it. It sounds very, very neutral, almost boring. But in my hobby, my part of this hobby, where I listen to IEMs and I try to say, you know what, this sounds like it's got kind of like the bass is starting to creep into the mids a little too much, or there sounds like there's a spike or a dip, or I can't do that with something that's got too much of a, like I wouldn't really do reviews with the WM1Z too much. It just adds too much warmth, organic, orgasmic awesomeness that might make average set sound a little bit better. That's what happens when you use a DAP like that as your like review DAP, and I've done it before. I think it sounded great with the Solaris. I think the Solaris sounds good with this too, but I think it sounds really good with the WM1Z, but I think everything does sound good with that. This is going to take your IEMs or your headphones, because it's got 750 out of the 4.4, and to make them sound like they're supposed to sound, whatever they are, is what this is going to do. And it's got a lot of juice. I've been listening to IEMs mostly, and I don't go past that. What is that, 31? About 30%, man. This is good listening volume for me. Good. Going out of 4.4 for IEMs, hell yeah, that's plenty. So this has got a lot of power. It's got the latest Android. It's got 4.4, which is really becoming everything except for Astel, because they created the standard that they're sticking to. So the WM1Z has 4.4, the low 2 power gold touch has 4.4, the KN8 has 4.4. This has 4.4. The Astel current doesn't, because they did that or something. I don't know. I actually prefer this. It's more robust, and it's got more contact area. So I think it's a better design. So this screen kicks the shit out of all the stuff, basically in any price range. And it's got a sound that is, if I blindfolded you and I said, listen to this, if I volume matched it with the low 2 power gold touch, which costs over $4,000 in Japan, I don't think you could tell which one. I think you could tell if I use this WM1Z and this. I think you could pick that one's different. If I use this, if I use the low 2 and the WM, if I use most stuff in the WM1Z, I think you could pick it out. I think you could pick out the N8 in tube mode if this was just like this, because that is warm, this is not. So you could pick that out. Could you pick this out from a $4,000 low 2? I don't think so. I don't think you could tell the difference. So you're getting the outplay without what is why I got the low 2 is the absolutely sick, insane digital sound processing system via chip, basically hardware that they've got inside, which is the whole appeal of that. There's no other appeal to that, but that is important for a tweaker like me. So I gotta have the low 2. But aside from that, which nothing else has anyway, this sounds, and it's got a better screen, and a bigger screen, and it's got 3 gigs of RAM. The low 2's very fast, but it's because it's got its own OS. This is using Android, and that can cause problems. Not having any issues. If you're wanting like descriptions of what these buttons do, I already said it in the unbox. If you want to look at the UI, it's in the unbox. If you want to hear little micro specific stuff about height, and you wait till the guys that carry the water, like Headphonics and Headphonia, they'll tell you guys that stuff. Take lots of pictures and stuff too. Sorry, I just love to kick them ignorant fucks. This device gets highly wrecked. I think looking at the other gear that I have and the price that it costs, and sitting here looking at a $800 Android 8.1 3 gig, something that the iBasso will never have and will always suffer because of that, as the units stand now, because you can change the amps but you can't change anything else, and iBasso has a problem with lag again and again and again. This is not going to give you that issue, so I would take this over one of those easily. So I wrecked the item. Price to performance ratio is best in the business. what I wouldn't wreck, so where are we now? Let me look at the timestamp. 10 minutes, pretty much. Just nailed it. So there you go. I wreck it. Go ahead and get it. I think they did a good job. I think they did a good job. Now, switch it out and then you're out of here. Because this is where I start to ramble a little for about 5 minutes. Hiby is a company. When the R3 was having issues, everybody knows that I did a video and changed the course of what they were going to do, or overthink my influence or whatever the fuck. That's when I started having feels not good about the company. And then when the R3 was done, between the R3 being, you know, taken down from AliExpress while people who had paid still hadn't gotten it, and the little messes that go on with companies, between that being completed and this, the support for the R6 pretty much disappeared. Hiby did not have a rep. They let him go for a while, or he walked away. I don't know the details of that. But the communication between the company through a representative and the public that owned the R6, which was clearly an item that was going to be usurped by something that fixed its OI problem, there was a lot of questions that didn't get answered. Unfucking acceptable. FIO has people to always answer questions, to repeat them 50 times. People ask FIO the same questions and they gotta fucking be polite. Kane's got Andy Kong that takes care of stuff with that company. Jason, I think, is with Astle and Kern. When I had an issue with Astle and Kern, Jason took care of it. When I recently said, hey, Jason, I'd like to maybe get back into the family, he totally blew me off. Hey, Jason, I'm coming back in anyway. So you shouldn't do that. Don't mind telling people what they don't want to hear. But don't ignore them, because that's no good. But when I needed help from Astle, they did it. Low2 didn't do that for me. Low2 cost me over $1,000 damage, and if it wasn't for Music Tech in America that sent me an English version, and then I had to sell my Low2 for a loss, I would have been super fucked. So Low2 is the lowest. Low2 is down with LH Labs. I'm not even going to get into LH Labs because I don't know anymore. I don't know. Are they that bad? They were. Trinity. Hiby is a company that can be mentioned with them, because when Hiby starts to be active, you know that they want money. They did the same thing after the R6 was released. They released an update, and then they started to be active, and then the R3 dropped because they wanted your money. And then when the R3 was cleaned up because of the ending messes with it, they disappeared because they had done their job, which was sell you a unit. Take care of you after, the aftercare. It's not something that Hiby considered. And now as this is getting ramped up and getting ready to be sold, bingo, they got a guy back on the forums to take care of you and answer your questions, because they need your money now. When they were selling to China only, fuck you. Who the fuck are you? And we're busy, and your question on Facebook or your question on the forums, that we're busy. We're talking to our Chinese customers. We don't have time to pay fucking minimum wage or whatever the price is for some dude to get on a forum 3-4 times a week and answer some questions. They couldn't do that. Their service to the R6 owners was total fucking shit. Absolutely unacceptable crap. But since this is about the music and about the devices that play it back for us, this gets recommended. Be warned. Be warned. And I've done this in other videos and people have commented later, I should have listened to you. Be warned that when Hiby is done with the rollout, the sell, and short couple months of taking care of you with a couple 2, 3, 4 firmwares, they're going to be gone again, because history is how we determine the future. How do we know what's going to happen in the future? Look at the past. It's a pretty good indication. When Hiby wants something, Hiby becomes active. When Hiby's got what they want, Hiby's ghost, in a way that's kind of jarring. I don't know any company that's so clear. When they released their update firmware, it was a couple days after I did my video, which surprised everybody. How the fuck did he get that? And they got a update that for the R6 that was just maybe the worst update procedure that's been done since I've been on the forums. It looked like it was cobbled together because of some reason. It was within a couple days when I did my video. Any relation to that? Probably no, but they don't really act as much as they react. So as a company, I think they kind of suck. And you're not going to ever know that unless you have a problem. So I recommend that you buy this, and I hope that you don't have any problems. That's basically what I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. This is absolutely fucking outstanding for $800. Absolutely fantastic. It doesn't have a musical sound. It's got a very flat neutral sound, but that's actually very cool. And it functions great. Google Play doesn't work right now. See if I can get out of here. I could, no, that's not Google Play. I could install it properly, but it will never open. But this will be something that, this is because this is not supposed to be in a video in America. I'm in Japan, but buying American towards the American market yet. They weren't ready for this. This is a surprise for them. But I wreck it anyway. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Screen quality is fucking boss. It's got 4.4. It's a very potent output. It's got high quality converters in it. If you're into EQ and you're not spoiled by Low-2, this is probably the best that you can get. The regular standard graphic with the Magic Sound 8-ball. It's all in there, man. It gets highly wrecked. This is what the people that got the R6 should have got in the first place. Minus the 4.4. That's a perk that I could see somebody putting into the Pro, but the fact that there's not, it's got Gorilla Glass, it's got more power, 4.4. It's got more power as a device through all of its outs. Not a lot of other differences. The user experience is of course the same because it's a Hiby and it's a Hiby. It's just a notable power thing. I don't think I've gone near 50% on this thing through either single or balance. So it's outstanding. It's a very, very nice device. Pros is the price, the sound quality, the age of its Android, which is 8, which is not the newest, but it's quite good, and competitive with stuff that's in and on the market right now. It sounds as good as a $4,000 Low-2. It doesn't have a musical as advertised sound like a WM1Z or something else like that might have, so I don't know what they mean by musical, but it doesn't sound like Calyx or WM1Z Opus #1 with the genuine steel or aluminum frame. But for $800, I don't know how you can go wrong. This plays with anything, and it'll power. Dynamics is power. Power is dynamics, in my opinion. This will do it. This gets highly wrecked. Hopefully, and yeah, you know what? I'm just going to try to be positive there and say, hopefully they learn their lesson about customer service and decide to be there all the time instead of just when they need your fucking money. But I'm not going to get into that because